Hi, welcome to a series of videos that I've made of the work I did last winter on swapping out our main engine, a Volvo engine, in our Yacht, and at the same time we also did some work in the engine bay and swapped out the main generator on the boat. So this is the new engine we bought from Golden Arrow at the Southampton Boat Show. This is it on its stands in the exhibition. It was a deal with the engine and the sail drive too, and Golden Arrow were happy enough to keep it for 9 months while we got ready to put the engine in. This is the new generator we put in, a nanny generator. It supplies a 240 volt supply on the boat. The videos form a sequence, a chronological sequence of what I did on the boat. I'm no expert, but I have had some experience of diesel engines and car engines and rebuilding things like that. But what I'm showing you is just what I did, not necessarily what an expert would do. This is the old engine, an MD-22. You can see the confined space we had to work with. You do get access to service it from the sides and the engine bay door, but it is quite restricted to work on the engine in any detailed way. The generator is a bit easy to get out, but it's definitely looking a bit crusty. You may be wondering why we changed out the engine and the generator. When we bought the boat, the engine was running fine, though we did have the oil tested and there was some evidence of metallic particles in it. Had it flushed and it tested okay after that, but it was blowing a little bit of oil, and you can see some smoke around the exhaust under the hull where it exits the hull. And we are planning to do some long distance cruising in the boat and basically living aboard, so we wanted everything to be very reliable. The generator was also blowing smoke and looked like it was in need of a rebuild, and we could have done those rebuilds and would have got some service life out of both, I'm sure, but both were running okay, so we left them until last winter when we did the swap out. And we bought the new engine, the new Volvo engine, which is a D2-60. We bought that at the London Boat Show, and we also bought another generator at the London Boat Show, but subsequently in discussions with Oyster, the recommendation was that we went with a nanny rather than the one we'd chosen, so unfortunately we kind of cancelled that and put in the nanny generator, which is probably a more how would I say it? It's probably more of an unsophisticated engine. It's very simple. You can get access to it all, and parts are relatively easy to get, as it's a Kubota engine that's in there. So those are the main reasons. Could have done the work on the main engine by lifting the head, taking all the injectors out and resurfacing them or putting new ones in. We could have taken the fuel pump out, etc. But it is quite a confined space when you see the area I've been working in, and it would have been difficult to have done that work in there and made sure we got everything good. So that was a decision we took, right or wrong, and we've been reasonably happy with the engine. We've had no problems with the main engine, a couple of problems with the generator, but they're probably of my making. But other than that, touch wood, they have been working really well. So hopefully enjoy the set of videos we're producing, and we'll see you next video for the next installment. Morning everyone. So we're on Akitas today. We're basically covering everything up. We're preparing for the generator removal and engine removal. Big job, lots to do, so I'll take you a little tour around the boat so you can see what we've already got up to. This is the state of the boat at the moment. Got lots of covers on everything, camera gears out, so I'm going to take some video of this activity. Taking the cooker out, Mary's in the process of coming up with a scheme for that. I think she's going to swap out the microwave for a combi oven, and we're going to get a newer gas cooker because she's not happy with the one we've got. We've covered most things with cardboard, taken the engine hatch covers off. I've got plywood on the floor at the moment, and I'm going to build it up to the same level as this step here on both sides, so it'll be at a level where I can slide the generator out onto a box that I'll show you that I built, and then it'll be at a level where I can get it over this lip between the aft stateroom and the galley area. So I've got loads of stuff that I've already prepped. I've got an A-frame and a lift beam that you can see on the aft berth. I've got some timber that I'll be using underneath the floor. Made up this frame myself just from bits of box section and plate that I had, and I've got a little slider unit that should go on the lift beam, and I'll be able to move things around on top of that. So one of the jobs I did first of all was just take the covers off the generator. I'll take those home. The generator is going to have to be disassembled because it's too wide to go through this door, so I'm going to have to take it out of its box, the support box underneath there, and then I think it'll go through just on its own, although the Volvo that we're taking out, that's going to be too wide to go out, so I'm going to have to take some more bits off that. So in addition to taking the doors off, in the after stateroom I've also taken the engine door off, and the Volvo is in the bottom of here. So we do run a dehumidifier on the boat. We'll leave it on for 2 or 3 hours just to dry the air in the boat when it's down, especially today because it's raining outside. You can see rain on the window and it's forecast to rain all day. So behind the dehumidifier there's a stove, and that's what we're getting rid of. Mary's not that keen on the 4 burner. On the top she wants just 3 because it is difficult to get 4 pots on there, and we never seem to actually have 4 pots on there at the same time. So how have we protected everything? Well, this is obviously the main saloon table. We've got bits of cardboard on the corners. I've taped bits of cardboard to the flooring and around the engine bay, you can see down here, so I don't scratch the timber work around all the doors and hatches. So this is the box we made. This is it upside down. See, it's pretty solidly made out of 2x3s, and then with a 18mm layer of plywood or chipboard on the back of it, on the top of it, and it's going to go in here when I've got the floor made up to level. So the floor's going to bring it up to this level here. It'll be on the square, so it should then allow us to slide this whole unit out onto the top of it. So this is just a time lapse of me building the floor in the aft stateroom. It's actually, the floor is actually on a slope. So we're getting a little bit further along. I've got the floor done. I've got this box in place. I'm still a bit high, so I made it that way so I could trim it to get this level, and I've got to come up with some way of bridging this gap here, probably with a couple of bits of timber and some ply on the top of it. A bit more time lapse of me actually just bridging that gap. And this is some footage of building the ramp that goes up from the aft stateroom to the main saloon floor. So it's a slope, really shallow slope, but enough to be able to slide the generator up so I can get it into the saloon area and removed. I built a sort of a ladder rack that went underneath there that was going to be the main support, so that's the heaviest timbers that I used. Okay, we've got a ladder beam made out of timber, all screwed together, pretty solid. It's chucked up underneath on a slight slope to bring it up this end of the floor. So we'll put ply on the top of this, and then that should be enough to support the weight of the engine as we move it from aft to into the main saloon, into here. And we'll be protected the floor with, it's obviously got cardboard on it, and it will have 18mm ply over the top of that. You're wondering why I'm referring to the engine. At this point in the process, I was thinking of bringing the main engine out through the back and then bringing it into the saloon up this ramp. Okay, so we're starting to get ready to take this generator out, a 6 kV generator. Got the camera mount here, so we're all set for pictures. The intention was just to take a lot of photos to start with and make sure I understand what's in here. And around the back, and I'm just going to so there's a positive lead from the starter motor. Just going to wrap some red tape around that. Nothing worse than sparks around the place when you're trying to dismantle stuff. Isolator is taken out. There's a switch that can take this handle out. There's no way that can be switched on, and I've also disconnected the battery. So this is the seawater in pipe. Okay, we're going to take some of the fittings, some of the electrical fittings to this generator off. They all seem to be made in this box, which has got lots of labels on it saying don't do anything in here because it's 240 volt. But the generator is disconnected from the system, and I will check before I go too far with this that there's no power flowing in here. I don't want to get electrocuted. I don't think we're getting any voltage here, but we'll just see. Make sure there's nothing there. Perhaps going on here. Blue cable and a brown cable usually means a live, and yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what it is. There's an earth lead there, neutral and a positive there. And there's nothing. I'll cool her out of the way. That's this thing here. I'll just disconnect that and then bend it down out of the way. Okay, so labels come off that. That looks like the power lead with a 3-phase, this single phase, 3 core brown, blue and green yellow. And this one looks like it could be some sort of control cable. So I'll disconnect them. Okay, so we're getting the engine mounts out on the generator. Very tight and very difficult to reach. On the front I've taken out the full engine mount so that I could get, see this bar down here, the stainless steel bar that runs across, that seems to be an additional item below the engine mount, and it fixes it down to the stainless steel table that the generator sits on above all the exhaust systems. So to get it out, taking those out at the front, I'm hoping that I just get away with taking the main bolt out of the top of the engine mount at the back here, and it should then, if I get something underneath it to slide it on, it should then just come clear. Very awkward to get at these things. Try and make it easier when I fit the new one back in here. So this is what the front support looks like. Okay, so I'm going to try and get some timber underneath the bottom of the generator to try and lift it up a little bit so that there's enough room to jiggle it out and move it forward a little bit. Not very much space under here to move. Hoping to get 2 bits of this under here. I'm going to use a good old wedge and a pry bar just to lift it up a bit more. Find a little bit of wood. It should then allow us to slide this whole unit out onto the top of it. Okay, well, not much time for filming there, but we use this little chain hoist, and this slide unit on here to lift the engine up and off the support block that I had in here, and then I sat it on a baking tray and some of these high density polythene mats and dragged it along, and I got it up here, and I used a little bit of a turf or a puller to pull it up the slope and across the hardboard flooring. There's the remains of the tray, and then I got it up on some more planks over here, and it's now sitting languishing in the corner there. And I think we'll have to do a bit of tidying up now because there's quite a lot of dross and tools and bits and pieces everywhere. So and this is in a bit of a mess, so I'll sort that out, sort my tools out into some sort of order for the next task. And the next task will be to lift this stainless steel platform out with the engine supports on it, clean it down first, and then get the two exhaust pots out from underneath there, and then begin to look at clearing away some of the piping that I can move to allow me to get into the sail drive, which is down under here somewhere. It's kind of in there. Okay, it's looking a bit better. Get this rear bracket off and give it a bit more of a clean. So this is the top of the table that the generator sits on, and it has the extractor fan mounted underneath, and you can see the water pots underneath that. So I've been having some difficulties in getting the lift beam in above the engine itself, and obviously need a lift point up the top here somewhere, and there was a cable tray at the top there, so that had to be removed. And I'm going to have a vertical piece that comes down into this gap here and sits on a wooden block on the floor, and then I should be able to get a lift point to be able to lift the engine above here and just move it forward slightly so it'll disengage from the sail drive, and then once the sail drive's out, then I'll be able to slide this back, and I'm hoping to get it out through this space here where the generator is. If I slide it along and then lift it out through the back and then take it out the same route as the generator. So if you enjoyed the video, share, like, subscribe, click the little button so you get the next one, and we'll see you in the next video.